All set.
Good evening. My name is Scott Memhard, Counselor from Ward 1 and Budget and Finance Chair. I'd like to welcome everyone here to our March 17th Budget and Finance Committee meeting of the Gloucester City Council. With us this afternoon are Councillor Worthley and Councillor Gross. You're really tricking us up on that, Tony. You and Councillor Jason. We also have our Clerk of Committee, Shara Kavalis, our CFO, John Dunn. Welcome to Harbor Master Chief TJ Shimataro, Elise Sinagra from our Elder Affairs, Rachel Belisi Tor, how do we say your last name, Rebecca, from the Board of Health?
Lyle Toller, yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Jessica Scola this evening, CFO, CAO, Jill Cahill, I'll take a breath. City Clerk Joanne Senos, and I'd like to also extend a welcome to two other city councilors. Ward 2, Councillor Tracy O'Neill has joined us this evening, and Councillor at Large Jamie O'Hara. Have I missed anyone in that lineup? I think not. That being the case, it's my pleasure to call this meeting to order. I need to announce that consistent with Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and to participate as and when necessary. People who wish to do so are invited to view the meeting at the login numbers that are posted for our agenda this evening. I'll take things in order this evening, if that makes sense to everybody. TJ, you seem to be going on a little bit of an investment kick here. We have a number of capital improvements that we're stepping up to support the activity of the Harbor Master's office.
Correct. Mr. Chair, would you like me to just go right down the list as they were listed on the memorandum?
If that works for you, and if you're comfortable with that, have that.
I'll go through A through J, and then line item 2, and then if you'd like discussion after that, if that works for everybody.
Yeah, I believe we have a total of 11 motions dealing with different particular capital and investments.
Correct. Yeah, and a few overages, but we'll go over that. I'll be as brief as possible so I don't hold up the agenda for tonight. Good evening. Our last Waterways Board meeting of February 6, 2022, I brought all these things to the board that are going to be before you tonight. The board voted 8 in favor, 0 opposed to use the following and retained earnings. The first one is the Gloucesterman launch, very popular service that the city of Gloucester has. The boat's going on its 10th year this year, and it's had really no major overhaul or improvements to it. 10 years on a boat that works 7 days a week for 110 days straight for 12 hours to 14 hours a day. It's long overdue. We started to have a little bit of trouble with it at the end of the season last year and had an emergency haul out at the Cape Ann Marina. And we ended up finding a slew of problems. Kind of when you peel back the layers of an onion, we're like, well, we should do this, we should do that. We can't afford to have that boat down at all during the season. So there's a variety of preventative maintenance items we need to do as well. We ended up hauling the motor out of the boat and replacing the oil pan with some condensation that you couldn't see from the surface that was actually rotting out the oil pan. So the whole motor had to be removed, and a variety of other things needed to happen to that. The outfit's been going on, the boat's almost done. It could not wait for retained earnings and all these things to be approved. Supply chain issues are a major problem. We waited almost 10 weeks for certain parts for that. So we're looking to pay this bill. So the repair of the launch and the service, it looks brand new, by the way. It looks great. It's an awesome boat. And it does this. It's the first thing people see when they come into the city. That's $22,000 in repairs and re-outfit for that boat. Next one is new mooring balls and no wake buoys. You guys, well, not all of you, but Tony knows. Every year I come before you and we replace things on a yearly basis as our retained earnings allow. This will be the final piece for all the new transient mooring balls. This is for stage head. And we're on a cycle of like 5 or 6 no wake buoys a year. We try to replace, 5 or 6 at a time. We have about 35 that are out in Gloucester's water sheets. They're kind of expensive, so we kind of like try to replace 5 or 6 at a time and just get it on a constant schedule as a capital improvement, if you will. Mooring tackle, new transient mooring off Niles. I'm looking to add a transient mooring off of Niles Beach for a larger vessel. We only have one out there right now that can accommodate about 70 feet. We're getting more and more inquiries for larger vessels. So we're looking to add transient mooring out there and redo some. We have to redo the 10-pound island mooring field this year's chain. Lasts about 3 years. Motor gas and oil addition. When I budgeted, gas was $2.20, $2.80 on the water. I think maybe $3 last year. They're talking $6 to $7 marina gas this year. Wasn't prepared for $7 gas. So that motor gas addition's a $3,000 safety net for us to make sure we get through to FY23. Property liability insurance increase. Our insurance premium went up mid-year. That's kind of self-explanatory. We didn't have any incidents or anything. It's just our premium went up. So we're looking to pay that. Steering on the 25-foot Parker. This pains me, but we got to get it fixed. We've actually ordered the part. We ordered it in August, and it still has yet to arrive. If that gives you any indication of what the marine industry is dealing with for supply chain stuff. Talked to the marina today. They said that it's on the queue to ship from Valcourt, Canada, where it's made, but there's no ship date. And again, I ordered this in August of 2021. Temp salaries backfill. This kind of happens every year. We adjust, we budget for X amount of patrols and X amount of guys, and inevitably, things get crazy, or we need to staff more people for a surge of patrons using the water sheet. And I kind of anticipate this spring, being from the numbers and stuff I saw at the boat show, I kind of anticipate having a pretty busy spring. People really looking to get after it. So that's a backfill in temp salaries. We may not use it all, but I like to have it. So I'm not showing a negative report for you guys at BNF for an overdrawn account. Again, if we don't use it, it's an enterprise, it falls to the bottom line. I'm not saying we're going to use all 6,000, but if we got it, then we're good to go. I don't have to come back. Rescue and survival float coats, looking to buy some new float coats for the guys, especially in the early months, and then the later months when things chill down and a type 3 per PFD or life jacket isn't appropriate. So that's just a RNS, rescue and survival cost. The ones we have down there are old and they're pretty much not serviceable anymore. Installation of an additional power pedestal to Solomon Jacobs. This is in preparation for the new boat whenever that comes. Another crazy supply chain issue. I got an email from Safeboat today saying that the outboard motors are 67 weeks out. Nonetheless, the boat will show up at some time and I need to be able to plug it in. So we're looking to add a power pedestal down to the marina. It's $5,000. Seems like a lot of money, but it's a 140-foot run and the copper cable is about $25 a foot. Last one is the procurement of a Connex box or storage container. Originally, I was going to maybe have a shed, buy a Reed's Ferry shed, or maybe have the high school build a shed, but we had to buy the materials, and the cost of materials are kind of through the roof for building. Then I started talking to Mike Hale from the DPW, and he was like, I was like, what do you think about a Connex box shipping container? We like the shipping container better because it's easily movable. If we need to move this thing out of their way, or we need to use it for storage for an off-site location, or we're doing a project somewhere, the DPW can move it. Tallies could come and pick it up and deliver it somewhere. It's pretty much a portable storage container. We're storing a lot of things in a lot of other people's spaces right now. We really need to get our own space. We don't have a huge workshop down at the harbor master's office. We have things like snow blowers and stuff in there that we really need to get out of there in the summertime and replace it with summertime equipment. So this is just simply a place that we're going to keep down at the DBW and store things in: chains, ropes, buoys, that kind of stuff. We want to keep it out of the weather and maintain it, and it's easily movable. Sorry, I'm reading off a iPad here for the second part of this. So that total amount is $67,500. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, for this. Again, this is all out of waterways retained earnings that we retained about $140 something thousand this year. Pretty good chunk of our budget was retained. So what I got.
Thank you very much, TJ. Counselors, do we have any questions or concerns that you'd like to raise at this point? Councilor Gross?
Oh, just as the motions come up, if I have any comments, I'll make them at that time.
Very good. Councilor Worthley?
Yes, first of all, thank you, TJ, or Mr. Shimataro, I'm sorry.
Jay's fine.
Thanks. None of this would even be possible if you weren't managing your budget tightly and between you, your staff, and the Waterways Board. I think that we should be I commend you for what you've done and what the Waterways Board has done. This is impressive. As
Thank
far
you.
as the individual, I think we have to take each of these individually, Mr. Chairman. I have no objections or questions. The only question I would ask is if you think you have enough money in the fuel, the additional fuel, and if that's something can we adjust up here, or doesn't make sense because you have to get it from your Waterways enterprise account? I'm not sure how this works, so.
I think that that'll suffice me. I don't know the number off the top of my head what is left over in the fuel budget, but we really don't start cranking up fuel costs till a week or two before Memorial Day, and then my budget will reset July. So I got a gallons calculation on my computer for what we did with the patrol log. I think we'll be safe.
I'm sorry, I was thinking this is for your year end, for the total year. It's just.
This will get me to July 1.
Yeah, got it. I have no questions. I'm very, very impressed.
Thank you.
Yep. And I would agree with both of you. And I think that the simple fact that we're talking about these investments in the department reflect the level of activity and engagement and success in terms of opening up our harbor and the activity level that we've reached and are going to continue to make Gloucester a welcoming, successful destination port for not just commercial fishing vessels, but many others as well. So I'd just like to congratulate TJ on your department's good work, and this investment from your enterprise fund seems like it makes good sense and reflects some forward thinking.
Thank you. The second one, number 2 on the memorandum, is the remainder. So the total retained earnings for the department was $149,438. 65,700 was just presented to you to spend and reinvest. The remainder is $83,738, which I am asking to put into our stabilization account, our savings account, if you will. Last year, retained earnings, these are loose numbers, but they were around 60,000. We spent 32, and we put $28,000 away in a savings account. This year, retained earnings was much larger due to a variety of things that happen. I always budget kind of conservatively on most of my line items anyways. I don't want to be over, rather be under. So the remainder is $83,738 we'd like to move into that waterway stabilization rainy day fund. So that'll be the rest of it. So we'll start clean.
Makes very good sense in financial planning. If there's no objection, I'll go ahead and read the first of these. I don't know, are there 12 motions? So Budget and Finance recommends that the city council approve a supplemental appropriation 2022 SA 15 in the amount of $22,000 from Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund retained earnings, undesignated fund balance retained earnings, or free cash account as noted, to the Waterways Enterprise Fund purchase of services account as noted, for the purpose of engine and hull repair of the launch boat. And I so
Second.
move.
Second.
So this is the Gloucester man.
Yeah.
I think of a former Gloucesterman that we used to put ice on, that one of the Parisis
Yeah.
operated for a number of years, Jim Parisi, I think. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
This is
Questions?
this is an investment that we made 9 years ago, according to DJ. It cost us $113,000 then. God only knows what it'll cost now, but
About 160.
yeah. So I think that this is like he said, the amount of use and wear and tear it's gotten, that getting it all refurbished and having the engine redone is well. And I guess is the wiring also being redone in this?
Yeah, we did an upgrade wiring package on this boat. We had the hull wet sanded and buffed out. We had a bunch of shell coat repairs made. Soda blasted bottom, new bottom paint, the prop reconditioned, a whole overhaul on the motor, valve adjustments, oil pans, starter. I mean, everything, a lot of stuff. But if that boat can't go down
Right.
June, July, August, it's not an option. So some stuff, is on the edge, we replace it. It's just the way that the business works. But yeah, it looks good. It looks like a new boat again. It's pretty impressive.
Great.
And where is this work being done?
The work was done at Cape Ann. They're a Westerbeek dealer over there, and they got everything to haul us out. We originally had a leak. Was doing a round during a rainstorm and realized that the boat looked a little heavy, and went down there and we pumped it out, and we realized the shaft packing for where the propeller and the shaft enter the boat through the through hull was leaking, had a bad cutlass bearing. It was it just, once we started getting into it, I was like, let's just do this. Let's do this boat and make it right. And it's an incredible asset for the city. The Waterways Board did a nice job picking out a good boat that would last a long time. I know you heard me say that before, that we like to buy things that last a long time. So
Even on the water.
to maintain it. So yeah, no, it's great. It's nice. You'll see it. You guys, everyone probably here for the most part will see it underway all the day, every day from Memorial
From your
Day.
prior discussion with us, DJ, my understanding is that longer term, to maintain the level of service that you're currently offering visitors to the harbor, we really need to plan for a second launch as well. Is that correct?
Second launch is a must. We're looking at different options now. It's been discussed a variety of times at the Waterways Board. Ultimately it comes down to funding. Before a year ago, or not a year ago, probably 3 years ago, you could call up Eastern or Duffy or anybody and be like, hey, I'd like to order a boat. And they'd be like, okay, 6 months, it'll be ready. It's not the case anymore. It's years. Eastern Boat is like 2.5 years out on a build, which puts us into a used market. So there's a lot of challenges with that. Boat building, supply chain issues, outboards. It's just unbelievable. Hit the marine industry very hard. A lot of the marine industry is serviced, overseas, Suzuki's, Yamahas, stuff like that. But yeah, a second launch is a must. As soon as we can knock down the funding and get things, aligned, we're gonna pull the trigger on that. Not only for a second launch for usage and in peak hours, but if this one goes down, and you have 20, 30 patrons out on a Saturday, you still got to go get those people. They have no way in. And we're using boats that aren't designed or really allowed to do that. It's an emergency situation. So not to mention, we'll be able to service the current launch more because we'll be able to actually take it out of service, put the other one in service, do the maintenance on it, do the oil changes, do the impellers, do that kind of stuff, bring it back into service and kind of swap them out. You really, really need another one, but we're going to get there.
So the motion has been made and seconded. And any further discussion? We'll have a vote. Councillor Gross,
Yes.
Councillor Worthley,
Yes.
Councillor Memhard, yes. The motion passes unanimously. The second item, Budget and Finance recommends the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 22 SA 16 in the amount of $6,700 from the Waterways Enterprise Fund undesignated fund balance retained earnings, free cash account as noted to Waterways Enterprise Fund repairs and maintenance, boat and marine maintenance account as noted. And this is for the purpose of purchasing replacement mooring balls and no wake buoys. And I so move.
Second.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to talk about these mooring balls a little bit. They're an upgrade from what we used to have, the round mooring balls. These are also the drum style, right, TJ?
Yeah.
And we've gotten many, many, many compliments on the ease of picking up your bow line off of the top of this thing, and it just
Holds a pickup buoy too, keeps the pennants out of the water. It's a
Yep.
nicer situation.
it's just made a world of difference for the people who come here. Then they really notice it. So it's one of those small touches that puts you in a different class above other ports. So I just wanted to. They're a little bit more expensive, but their return on investment is pretty significant.
Definitely.
What do you call that design?
I don't know. It's Gilman Marine that makes these buoys. They're not round. They're like cylindrical, and they have a pickup buoy on the top. A lot of boats that come in, like high bowed sailboats and stuff, they have a hard time getting the pennants. And, sometimes they call and you got to send a boat out there to assist them. Like this alleviates all that. It's all about, this business for 110 days is all about efficiency, keeping things moving. That's why we did so well last year, and transient mooring revenue was a big part of my retained earnings, about 2x what I budgeted. So, it's small investment, but we definitely have a return on investment on pretty much all these improvements.
Thank you.
And convenience too. It's mentioned in more than a few of the reviews, the 4+ star reviews, that they mention the buoys and the ease and the markings. So, they go to other harbors and they're wondering where can't find my, the mooring you sent me to. So between the good direction from the office and the good markings on them and the ease of use, it's really made a big improvement in our service.
Definitely.
So motions been made and seconded, and we've had discussion. Roll call vote. Councillor Gross,
Yes.
Councillor Worthley,
Yes.
Councillor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. The third motion before us from the Waterways is a recommendation that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 22 SA 17 in the amount of $10,000 from Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance retained earnings, free cash account as noted to the Waterways Enterprise Fund purchase of services account as noted for the purpose of purchasing new mooring and chain installation for transient moorings off of Niles Beach. And I so move.
Second.
Discussion, questions? TJ, do you have to deal with the eelgrass issue there? I know we've discussed in the past in terms of citing this with state authorization.
Yeah, no. So where this mooring is going, there was a mooring there. It's in a non-eelgrass inhabited area. It's not an issue. We say off of Niles Beach, it's a little bit more attractive than Southeast Harbor for transients. So we oh wow, I'm just gonna stay by the beach. Yeah, it's not. It's part of the grid. It's not a non-issue.
If there's not any further questions, I'll call for a vote. The motion's been made and seconded. Councillor Gross,
Yes.
Councillor Worthley,
Yes.
Counselor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. The fourth item before us is to recommend to the city council for approval of supplemental appropriation 22 SA 18 in the amount of $3,000 from the Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance, retained earnings, free cash account as noted, to the Waterways Enterprise Fund motor, gas, and oil account as noted, for the purpose of supplementing the Waterways motor, gas, and oil account due to the increase of gas prices, gas and diesel prices. And I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. Councilor Gross?
Yes. Yes.
Councilor Worthley?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. The fifth item, Budget and Finance recommends the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 22 SA 19 in the amount of $3,000 from Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance, retained earnings, and free cash account as noted, to the Waterways Enterprise Fund purchase of services account as noted, for the purpose of replacing funds taken from the purchase of services account to backfill property liability insurance as the premium increased in 2022. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. The sixth item, Waterways, is for the City Council, for the Budget and Finance to recommend to the City Council, we approve a supplemental appropriation 22 SA 20 in the amount of $2,500 from the Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance, retained earnings, free cash account as noted, to the Waterways Enterprise Fund purchase of services account as noted. And this one's for the purpose of repairing the steering pump for the 25-foot Parker patrol boat. And I so move.
Second.
Discussion or questions? Seeing none, roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. And the seventh item, Budget and Finance Committee recommends the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA 21 in the amount of $5,000 from the Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance, retained earnings, free cash account as noted, to the Waterways Enterprise Fund purchase of services account as noted, for the purpose of installing a new power pedestal at Solomon Jacobs Dock for the new SAFE boat to be delivered. And I so move.
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
While the boat's probably a year away, it's a good idea to purchase this now because it'll probably be $7,000 next year.
Crazy.
Yep. Roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. And the next item, Budget and Finance Committee recommends the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA 22. I was waiting for that number to come up. In the amount of $6,000 from the Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance, retained earnings / free cash account as noted, to the Waterways Enterprise Fund salary and wages temporary account as noted. This is for the purpose of funding temporary wages and pay increases, and I so move.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. Next motion, recommend that the Budget and Finance Committee recommend to the City Council approval of supplemental appropriation 22 SA 23 in the amount of $2,500 from the Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance, free cash account as noted, to the Waterways Enterprise Fund uniforms account as noted. And this is for the purpose of replacing float coats and PFDs, personal flotation devices, for boat operators. And I so move.
Second.
Discussion, questions?
I don't know if everyone's aware of what a float coat is, but it's like a winter coat that leaves you buoyant if you happen to fall over in the colder seasons. It's very important life-saving piece of attire, and I think you do need to keep them current. So this is a good use of this funding.
Sounds like a good investment in safety to me. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Counselor Gross,
Yes.
Counselor Worthley,
Yes.
Counselor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. The ninth motion is Budget and Finance recommends that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA 24 in the amount of $5,000 from the Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance, free cash account as noted, to the Waterways Enterprise Fund repair and maintenance building and grounds account as noted, for the purpose of purchasing a Conex storage of gear and equipment maintenance structure, a Conex for storage. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Questions, comments? Sounded like a wise move again. Roll call vote. Counselor Gross,
Yes.
Counselor Worthley,
Yes.
Counselor Memhard, yes. And the 11th item, Budget and Finance recommends to the City Council to approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA 25 in the amount of $83,732 from the Waterways Enterprise Fund, undesignated fund balance, retained earnings, free cash account as noted, to the Waterways General Stabilization Fund account as noted, for the purpose of transferring the remaining retained earnings to the Waterways General Stabilization account. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further questions or comments?
I would like to.
Councilor Worthley.
Thank you. So firstly, I'm going to support this without any debate. I just want to use this opportunity to make a statement and also ask a question. So one, anybody who's listening, and maybe Kenny could verify this just to kind of get the message clear. None of these investments are going to cost the taxpayer more money. Can you just confirm that? I know that. I just want to hear that sort of on the record. So anybody's listening thinking we're overspending or anything, this doesn't raise our taxation for anybody, for any residents.
That's correct. This is an enterprise fund, the Waterways Enterprise Fund, which is separate from the general fund. So this is through revenue generated from the waterways. So these are monies that are left over at the end of the year that's been certified by DOR. So this amount is available for the fund for waterways types of activities.
Right. I knew that. I think all of us knew that, but I think this is also helpful to people who are listening in case they are thinking the wrong thing or overspending or anything like that. So that's good. The second question, again, it's not about these exact funds, but when money goes into a Waterways General Stabilization Fund or any of our stabilization funds, are we getting interest on that money? Is the
Yes.
city, like, where does it go?
So for the Mass General Law, any stabilization account needs to go into a separate account, and it does earn interest. And it stays within the account. And John can talk about investment vehicles because I know we are restricted what we can invest. But as far as interest, that the money in the waterways stabilization account does generate interest, and it does stay within the fund.
Okay, it was just a general question of how, and I don't want to hijack the meeting or this agenda item, and nothing has to do with the decision to put the money into the account. But I don't know where else we can ask these questions. What kind of interest does the city get on these kinds of stabilization funds, if I may?
It depends. So in a case like this, where the Waterways Enterprise Fund may have to get to these stabilization funds in short notice. They can't be invested, in other than just a money market account. So what is that? 0.3%, 30 basis points. It's nothing. The city general fund stabilization accounts, we have, a certain amount of that actually invested in rolling CDs. So that's different. But, we're talking about the general fund stabilization accounts amounting to 13 million bucks. So we're certainly not going to use it, God bless, we're not going to have to use that in any one particular year. But for something like this, I would not be comfortable, to have to say that, no, we can't get to the funds because they put it in a 5-year CD.
I understand. Okay, I'm not going to take any more time, but I appreciate the mini education. Thank you,
No,
Tony.
Councilor Wortley, I appreciate your questions, and I think they're very, very helpful points to make and to have clarified. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
If I could, through the chair, there's currently just under 29,000 in the fund right now. Adding this 83,000, there'll be approximately just under 113,000 in the fund after this transfer. And I would say this is a record for the fund. I've never seen it this high before. So kudos, good job, TJ.
Good work, TJ.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? If not, we need a roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Wortley,
Yes,
Councilor Memhard, yes, motion passes unanimously.
good work.
Thank you. TJ, I guess we've got the next one as well.
Yeah,
The
this one's real
from-
quick.
Memorandum from the Harbor Master requesting acceptance of an annual Clean Vessel Act grant in the amount of $14,500.
Yep, so this is real quick. Councilor Gross, Councilor Memard, you guys are aware, Councilor Worthley, real quick. We get this every year. The Clean Vessel Act, it comes from the state. It supports the pump out boat, so people aren't pumping black water into our harbor. We have a service. This pays for a good portion of it. The match is in kind, which is us doing it. We have a facility, and it's usually $11,000. This year we got another $3,500 from the state to replace the pump on the pump out boat. So those types of, it's really their boat. It's our boat, but it's their boat. And this year there was some, we need a new pump. Can't do pump outs without it. Talked to the state. They gave us an extra, we priced it out. We sent them a quote. They gave us an extra $3,500 on the grant. That's why it's a little more. It's usually 11 grand. That's it.
Thank you for taking the time to educate me on that. Thank you.
No problem.
I must say, I don't think I've heard the term Blackwater before. I wish we were talking oil out of Saudi Arabia rather than what I think I know you're talking about. But
Yeah. So in the marine world,
I've heard of gray water, but never Blackwater.
gray water is your hand washing, your shower, stuff like that. Black water actually has human waste or sewage in it, which cannot be pumped out. Gray water can be pumped out in certain situations inside 3 nautical miles of Massachusetts. So those are your two terms for that.
Well, I did not know that, so now I do, so thank you. Any other questions, comments? I'll read the motion. Excuse the dogs, there's probably a coyote running through the yard. Budget and Finance recommends the City Council accept under Mass General Law 4453A, a federal Clean Vessel Act pump out boat grant for $14,500 from the U.S. Department of the Interior passed through Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries for the purpose of servicing residential and transient boaters of the city of Gloucester for the disposal of sewerage from vessel holding tanks, portable toilets, and shoreside pump out facility. The grant period is from February 24th, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. And there is an in-kind match of payroll related expenses. And I so move.
Second,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Motion's been seconded by Councilor Worthley. Thank you. It all just screws up Sherry's minute keeping as to who does what, whether we follow a pattern or not.
I'm fine with Counselor Gross doing all the seconds. I just felt like you were taking a break for a second, so I jumped in there. So,
Yep, no, help yourself.
okay.
All appreciated. Motion's been made and seconded. Counselor Gross,
Yes,
Counselor Worthley,
Yes.
Counselor Memhard, yes, motion passes unanimously. Seconded by Counselor Worthley. Thank you, TJ.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Carry on. It sounds like you're getting us ready for summer, which we hope is right around the corner.
Let's hope so.
I want to say also, not just thank TJ, but Counselor Gross has been a longtime representative on the Waterways Board and our liaison to the council. And I know you've had your hand on the wheel a little bit on all of this. So I give you
Definitely.
credit for that too.
thank you.
This good fiscal management reflects Tony's input here. Glad to recognize
On
you.
budget and finance.
Might as well get to spend it. So thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda this evening, the third item, is a supplemental appropriation budgetary request 2022 SA 26 from the city clerk in the amount of $1,536.90. Joanne, I see you with us.
Yes, okay. Good evening, councilors. I'm here before you to request approval of this transfer. And the reason I'm before the budget and finance is because the funds are coming out of a reserve account in which I would need the budget and finance recommendation to go up to the city council for the city council vote. It's a heavy duty shredder, which we need in this clerk's office. We have gotten by with a lesser quality shredder, but with the volume of requests with applications, also vital records requests, also vote by mail requests that have personal information. We cannot just recycle these applications and requests. We need to shred them according to the state. So the shredder is a heavy duty shredder. It includes a box of 50 bags, and there are no freight charges, and they'll come and install the shredder into the city clerk's office. So I'm just requesting your approval for this. Any
Do
questions?
councilors have any questions? Forget Joanne.
Joanne, does this just plug right into the wall? No special electrical requirements?
No, it just plugs into the wall, yes.
I'll go ahead and read the motion. Budget and Finance Committee recommends City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA number 26 in the amount of $1,358.90 from the city clerk dog license receipts reserved for appropriation fund, transfers to the general fund account as noted, to city clerk office equipment account as noted, for the purpose of purchasing a new heavy duty shredder. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Kenny, you'd like to speak to this?
I just want to clarify the amount. It's $1,538.90.
I'm sorry, did I misspeak? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
$1,538.90. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes,
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, Joanne, shred away.
All right,
Yes.
thank you very much.
okay.
And then the next item relates to Elise Sinagra, Director of Elder Affairs, is requesting acceptance of donations in the amount of $6,145. Elise, you're joining us, even though we've said you don't have to, but this is very impressive.
Well, yeah, I have another item on the agenda too, and this request to accept the donations is a little bit more significant than the last. So I just figured, of course, I'd be here for both items, but I think the donations account's picking up a little bit steam, which we like to see. The more we thank folks publicly for making donations, the more people become aware that that's something that they can do, and they can express their love for seniors, by donating directly to the Council on Aging. And I think we benefited a little because some of those took a little while to get in and get submitted. And these were still some checks that were part of the holiday giving spirit, kind of got us up to a real nice figure there. So yeah, we're excited about having that in there to use on some activities like exercise instruction and some other stuff too.
Could you speak a little bit to detail about the Jebediah Foundation and their $5,000 contribution here?
That came, it came out of the blue. I don't know who kind of represented them or why they sent that to us. It was from like in a donor advised trust. And it's one of those things where someone wanted to give it, and I think they don't want us to know who the ultimate giver was. So they go through something like the Jebediah Foundation, but must be somebody that really loves our seniors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions from counselors?
I have a question.
Counselor Worthley.
I'm sorry, I came off. First of all, Elise, I'm very impressed. It's always great when someone comes to the council asking us to receive money versus spending money, right? Is there
Yeah.
something that the council can do to support the, I don't know if it's fundraising or whatever effort you would call it? We can be thankful, but is there something we can do to be helpful?
My understanding is that I think it's against the law. Like I can't solicit, so I'm very careful to make sure that people know that I don't solicit. But one thing we can do is thank, and just in that simple act, if there's any way it ever comes up in conversation and you say, geez, I'm really thankful to know that some people in the community do this for the Council on Aging. They actually express their love through financial donations right to the Rose Baker Senior Center. And it's always expressed as being thankful, which is a great thing to express anyway, as being thankful. Then I believe that that's okay to say, and that's something that we can do to let folks know that they have that opportunity to express that goodwill that way. So I think that's about it. Yeah.
The audio cut out for the very beginning of what you said for me. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
If there's something the council can do specifically other than being thankful.
I don't think so, Counselor. I think just as, not being shy about being publicly thankful, because that is one thing you can do, is express gratitude for the people in the community that do make those contributions. That hopefully that gets, maybe that gets people, just realizing that they can do that.
Yeah. And just to be clear, this is any donation to your organization is a tax write-off? Is that right?
It is. So I understand that I don't know, and this is something I've been meaning to ask either Kenny or John about, and I don't know if this is the right venue for that, but I have had people wonder if it's deductible to the same extent as it is when they make a donation to like a 501c3, private charity. I know it is deductible. I've been assured by a couple different people, but I've kind of deflected that question by saying, I think, maybe you should ask your tax professional about that. But I don't know if Kenny or John has it right in your head and can easily speak to that, but to the degree to which it's deductible and how that compares with contributing to a private charity. It is something that I've been wondering. So thank you for the question.
Mhm.
The simple answer is yes. But there's probably more nuance around that. Yes. So we can talk about that a little bit more as to how maybe you should answer that question. But, they can't deduct it if it's a fee, but if it's a donation, they can. They just have to differentiate between and make a note on that it's a donation. Yep.
Right.
And
Awesome.
you can provide a
Thank you.
letter if they need a letter as well, because they'll need that letter for their accountant
Okay, that's
or the tax
awesome.
preparer.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Kenny.
Reason for my asking is to kind of create the synergy that might then help beget more donations. If someone's sitting here listening, say, "Oh, I didn't know it was a write-off," then that might create some more opportunity.
Exactly. I had no idea it was a write-off until it was made clear to me. So, I mean, I think that is, sounds like it might be a little bit more paperwork because you have to kind of prove that it's not something that you ordinarily owe the city, that it's over, above and beyond that. So maybe a little more paperwork, and I'll talk to John kind of outside of this meeting about some more subtlety to that paperwork, but it's maybe a little more paperwork. But I mean, heck, if people do that, that's maybe something that, I don't know if there's a way that the council, if that's appropriate to let people know that yeah, you can actually contribute to the city over and above things that you owe, and that's deductible.
Right. And so the last question, this is really, again, I don't mean to hijack. It just, there's not really other places to ask these kind of questions, but if John or Kenny could speak to this, When someone passes away and donates to something like Elder Services, that's estate tax free, is that correct?
I'm sorry, repeat the question?
When someone passes away and they leave funds to the city, and specifically this account, that is without estate tax, is that right?
State tax, when
Estate,
they're providing,
Estate
So-
tax.
I'm sorry, if they provide a donation, I mean, we'll accept the donation, it'll go into this fund. I mean, if we're talking about they're leaving their estate to the city, I mean, that, now we're talking about a trust fund, and that's something that, John will probably, would work with the trust fund committee, but that's something totally separate.
okay, just,
Yes, again, Counselor, that's a very complicated question to answer in this form, so.
okay. I'll send it.
Be a nice problem to have. Be a nice
Right.
problem to have if we have to figure that out because someone wants to leave us their estate.
Right.
but-
But maybe we can create that opportunity if
Yeah.
someone, okay, I have no questions about accepting the money. I hope this was helpful too.
No, those are
Good
good.
question.
Again, Councilor Worthy, thank you. Those are good questions. And it reminds me, during my term on the Sawyer Free Library Board, the library was a recipient of 2 estate bequests from women who'd passed away who had no other heirs. And, that really laid the foundation for the, ambitious planning that our library has been able to undertake in terms of looking forward to a new future. So
Yeah.
those sort of things, I mean, they're problems that people have to deal with and resolve, and we're happy to help them resolve them if they're so inclined. So good questions.
Thank you for helping them resolve them, Councilor Memhard, because we partner so closely with the library and I'm just thankful for them all the time. Yeah, for the partnerships that we have.
Yeah, and those were very, in one case, the woman donated her property in Rockport to the library, and it was a $2 million property. And in another case, she owned, I don't know, what was called a cubit of farmland out in South Dakota, and we didn't get to go look at it and kick the dirt, but the tenant farmer was happy to buy it from us and give us the money for the library's benefit.
Wow.
You
nice.
never know.
Right.
So the motion's been made and seconded. Well, I don't think we've made the motion, have we? I move that the Budget and Finance Committee recommend to the City Council to accept cash donations under Mass General Law 4453A to support the Council on Aging in the amount of $6,145 from the following listed members and business partners within our community. I won't read the list. There are about 20 names here. The total balance being donated is $6,145, and I so move.
Second,
Made and seconded. Discussion? Vote.
can.
Councilor
we read the
Gross?
name At the council meeting? Sorry.
Yes,
Councilor Worthley?
Wait, I'm sorry. You said any
You had a-
discussion? I
You had a question? You had a
I
question?
just want to say, can we read the names of the donors at the full council meeting?
Pleased to do so, absolutely.
All right, thanks. And my vote is
Other-
yes.
Part of the record, yeah. And my vote is yes as well. So the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Elise.
Thank you.
And the next motion is for you as well. Memorandum from the Director of Elder Affairs, Elise Sinagra, requesting acceptance of a fiscal year 2022 Title III Be Older American Services Provider Grant in the amount of $9,841.08.
Yep. So the Title III-B is something that, most councils on aging get. We get that through senior care. They're our ASAP, our aging services access provider. And that money gets passed through, I think it's like, federal and then state, and then it goes to the ASAP. And then they issue the contracts out to the councils on aging that are within their service area for us to provide outreach services. So that grant is something that the COA gets, every year. It was a little bit late, still kind of holdover from COVID issues. It was a little bit late. That's for the federal fiscal year. It actually started in October. So we've been providing services under that new contract, that grant contract since October. But it's really kind of standard stuff that we do. And My understanding, well, my knowledge actually is that that grant supports, it's partial salary support for our social workers, for my outreach social worker and my social work, my outreach coordinator. That supports some salaries for some of the great stuff that they do. The outreach stuff is kind of everything that's not the programs that happen here at the senior center, all the stuff that's not that, like when we go out and, maybe go visit folks at the housing authority, or we have a friendly phone call program, or, there's just a ton of things that fall under that outreach category to try to, do just that, do outreach, get folks to realize that they've got a great resource here at the senior center, and to get the folks who might not be inclined to ever come to the senior center to know that there are also things that the Council on Aging can do for them as well. So yeah, we're happy to have that grant. We get that every year from Senior Care.
Thank you for that description. Any questions or comments from the councilors?
I'd like to make one comment if I could.
Please.
I remember when my grandfather was 86 years old, he said he wouldn't go to the senior center because that's where the old people go.
I hear that all the time.
I bet. And if
Yeah.
there's any, I think the message is, age is, it's not a number thing. And people, do you have a minimum age that you would accept people participating in your programs?
Our membership guidelines say that to be a member here, it's 60 plus, or people that are 50 plus if that is a person with a disability. Then we welcome those folks in as members, but we also are very welcoming of caregivers that come in and accompany people. We like the vibe to be intergenerational, to whatever degree that's appropriate. Yeah, and you're right. We're finding right now, and that's one of my challenges, is trying to reach out to like the younger seniors, because we've got kind of the seniors and then the younger seniors, and that's always one of the things I'm always thinking about in the back of my mind, is how to start to transition, offer things that still the very older end of the spectrum still really love and rely on, but from a programming standpoint, to try to think of things we can do to get some of the younger seniors down here every now and then, do some maybe different music to attract some folks maybe. But yeah, that kind of stuff, and thinking about all of that stuff and how to serve that younger population of seniors, that's where it becomes so important to have funding like we get from this grant contract, because that pays for that outreach, to let that younger group know that like this isn't the place where the old people go. This is the place where we're having fun. We had a crazy fun party today. We have exercise classes. We have an incredible redesign that's going to be happening to our tech center. I mean, we've just got all kinds of cool things happening here, the art that Junie does. So hopefully if we just keep, banging away at that outreach and getting that message out there, we can get to folks to realize what kind of a resource we can be for them.
That's great.
Elise?
Council, I didn't Elise did not plant these questions with me to help
Well-
advertise the programs she does. It's just, we're in
Yeah.
sync.
No,
Yeah,
it's a
thanks.
good opportunity. Jeff, you just have to clarify for us if your grandfather, Chief Earl Worthley, police chief from Gloucester, ever considered himself to be elderly at all before he passed.
I don't think it was, but it was actually my grandfather on my mom's side,
The other
Mondello
side, okay.
side, that I'm not gonna go. That's where the old people go. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can understand that's a challenge. And I think 2/3 of our city council would probably qualify to be members of the senior center.
yeah. I think about, and I don't want to get into it too much, not in this venue and take up everyone's time, but it is in the back of my mind to think about somewhat of a rebranding. We think about the language that we use. I try to use older adults more than kind of seniors, because that wording kind of matters, and older adults might be a little bit softer and nicer to some of the younger of the seniors, or younger of the older adults. So at some point, yeah, maybe we might need to brand it to the Rose Baker Older Adult Center or something like that. But that's down the road. And then I might come in front of you guys and be asking for money for that time instead of asking you to accept it.
It's okay. Thank you.
Elise, you talked about, different music. I think probably the majority of the musicians on Cape Ann are senior citizens now. So
Yeah,
You could-
we're trying to get
Come-
the
come
Old
when-
Salty. Yeah.
come
sorry.
dance with your contemporaries.
Yeah, we're trying, when I listen to the guys from the Old Salty Jazz Band, and they're dying to get back down here, I've got horn covers on order for them, so that in case one of them were sick, they wouldn't be dispersing that all over the room, because they play horns. And I realized when I talked to them that not only is it a service to the seniors that enjoy listening to them, it's a service to them, because if you see the Old Salty Jazz Band, They are definitely seniors. And when they talk to them, they say they can't wait to play for everybody, but mostly they say they want to just play together. They want to play, they want to play together. They're musicians and they want to play together. So I always keep that in mind too, that when we have them down here, it's not only a service to the seniors that are grooving on the music, but it's a service to the seniors that are playing on, grooving on playing the music. So
Well, even the rock and roll bands in Gloucester are all over 60.
The
Yeah.
punk rock bands.
okay, that's okay. We can still rock and roll when we get a little bit to be older. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read the motion. The Budget and Finance Committee recommends City Council accept under Mass General Law 4453A, a federal grant passed through the Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs through Senior Care, Inc. for a Title 3B Older Americans Act grant of $9,841 for fiscal year 2022. Funds are to be used to supplement the hours and part-time salary for an outreach coordinator worker at the Rose Baker Senior Center. And the grant period is from October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. And there is a minimum 10% local match for this grant, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Councilor Worthley. Further discussion or comment? When I went to the dermatologist recently, she insisted on calling them maturity spots. So maybe we can call them the maturity center.
Yeah.
That's cute.
I don't know if I could be accused of being mature sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work on it.
You have to work to qualify. Motion been made and seconded. A roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Motion passes unanimously. Keep up the great work, Elise.
Thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank
You
you.
do. The next item before us on our agenda is a supplemental appropriation budgetary request 2022 SA 27 from our DPW in the amount of $50,000 for hazardous tree removal along our roadways. Who's here to speak to that?
Counselor, I will, I will speak to that.
John, you're our new tree warden?
Well, Mike Hale.
Among other hats?
Is at a meeting out of the city this afternoon, so he asked if I would pick it up. So this is fairly simple, even though it has not been a particularly bad winter. It has been a bad winter for trees and tree maintenance. We don't budget a lot for that. And we budget like $25,000 a year within DPW. We have spent all of that. So there is still tree work to be done, based on what has happened over the past couple of storms. Mike would like to, make sure that we finish that work as best we can before June 30. So he's looking to supplement the tree maintenance, the care of trees account. It was misnamed on the SA form, but the account number is correct. So that's the care of trees account. And by putting $25,000 more in that, Mike feels that we will be able to correct some of the problems that happen as a result of the winter storms.
Very good. Any questions from councilors?
The amount that's on here is 50,000, John.
Oh, 50,000. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Correct. Thank you. 25 is what was in there,
Right.
and that's already gone. Yeah.
And our pothole account reserve will be right behind the tree maintenance.
Yep.
I'll read the motion that Budget and Finance Committee recommends to our city council that they approve supplemental appropriation 22 SA 27 in the amount of $50,000 from DPW highway force receipts reserved for appropriation fund transfers to the general fund account as noted to the DPW Public Services Care of Trees account as noted for the purpose of hazardous tree removal among various roadways. And I so move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Further discussion or comments? All those in favor, Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Those
Thank
trees
you.
need pruning.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. And then we have a memorandum from the Public Health Director requesting acceptance of a 2022 BH/AGH Community Collaborative Grant in the amount of $16,200.
Hi, this is Rachel, Assistant Director of the Health Department. I'm here on behalf of Max Shank, but I am going to let Jess Scola, who is our interim director downstairs, answer any specific questions that the council has.
Great. Thank you, Rochelle.
Hi, my name is Jess Scola. I'm the current interim regional prevention director for the prevention team at the health department. I'm the ongoing youth development coordinator here. This is very simply a grant from Beverly Hospital AGH Leahy for implementing, administering, and reporting for the youth risk behavior survey that we administer every 2 years in our community. It's extremely important to our prevention work, informs our strategies and interventions, lets us know what's going on with our youth. And it's this year's the big difference that we're really excited about. It's the first time it's going online, which we anticipate will give us better data, which will inform our programs and better programming for the young people. Another really important thing to note is we're involving Rockport for the first time this year. So the prevention team runs a regional coalition that involves 7 of our regional towns: Gloucester, Rockport, Manchester, Essex, Danvers, Beverly, and Ipswich. So this is the first step towards our goal that we anticipate and really getting close to achieving, is getting all of those towns on the same survey so we can compare the data and have that for our coalition. So we've laying the groundwork for that, and we're really excited to be getting some support financially to get this done the way it needs to be done.
Excellent. Counselors, do we have questions for Jessica? Counselor
Jeff,
Worthley?
Counselor Gross can go first.
Yeah, hi, Jessica. I'm really happy that these other communities are getting involved, because this was so unfair to Gloucester when we just did it by ourselves, and all the other surrounding communities would just point at us and say, look, see, look, see. It was very disappointing. And so I'm very pleased that you're trying to get this as a regional, because all of it is, all of our, mental health with our youth is very important. And a couple of things I noticed in the paperwork we got, is that you say that alcohol is the most popular substance of misuse, but then you say marijuana is the most commonly used illegal drug. Wouldn't they both be equally illegal as far as the use goes?
Age-wise?
Yeah.
Well, yes, I think that is probably true. Where we get the questions is really from like state and CDC data and how they ask those. They're vetted by the schools. So I'm not exactly sure. Did you guys get the full grant that we applied?
Yeah, this is off the grant proposal.
So
Page 2.
page 2, which I do have.
It's just that
Oh, here it is.
alcohol does a lot more damage than marijuana. In my lifetime, what I've witnessed, and I've been around for a while. So I don't want, I think the scale should be equal here. That's all.
I agree. I think what you're seeing is just notes from previous surveys and what the data has shown based on how they ask questions. So they ask questions based on core measures that are agreed upon by the state and required by our federal and state grants that fund the most of our work. So I think what you're seeing is the summary of data in the past, just based on how they ask these questions. So we're really looking forward to seeing what new data says. The data from 2019 is a whole other world pre-COVID. So I hope that answers your question somewhat. But if that doesn't, please let me know.
Well, I would like the people who are doing these things to realize that alcohol deserves equal weight. That's all.
Sure. I mean, we're strongly aware of that in this community. We've gotten lots of feedback from young people on that they see it as an important issue in the community. But all of our work is evidence-based and data-driven. So that's why these surveys are so important, because it's what we need the young people to report on what's actually happening in the community. And sometimes the data doesn't match up to what we see. So we're really excited about going online because it will help ensure the young people that this is actually anonymous and that they aren't going to have repercussions for sharing their behaviors and what they're actually doing. So I anticipate seeing, I hope to see the data that we receive out of this round look a little bit more like what we see, with our own observations in our communities.
Thank you.
Councilor Worthley?
Yes. Well, first, hello, Jessica. Hello, Rachel. I was going to ask a specific question, but first I've got to say, Councilor Gross, once again, I got to give you credit. You, on your campaign material, you said budgetary watchdog, but who would have known that you'd be able to pick up every word of page 2 of a grant and not let that slip by without the appropriate comments. So I give you credit for that. Thank you. I had done some volunteer work many years ago with loss prevention, which then later evolved into health and education services. And forgive me for not knowing, but is there an organization aside from the city of Gloucester that is sort of leading the charge and coordinating with others, nonprofits and agencies like that? Does that exist any longer?
Well, we actually are the group that does that. So our regional coalition, we run monthly meetings, and the people that are in our coalition are all the direct service providers in our community and in our region. So there's also many other coalitions around in the community based on what people are funded to do and what their expertise is. So there's lots of different, there's like Kayak, which is run by Wellspring. And then a lot of our coalition that my predecessor, who I stepped into her role when she left, she really built an awesome coalition that is really the underpinning of what you're asking, where action comes to the table, the CIU, the children's friends, the folks that run therapy, the adjustment counselors. And it's developed into a really awesome space for sharing resources and ideas, and we regionalize our stuff as much as possible. So I honestly feel like it is our regional youth prevention network that's run out of our Gloucester Prevention Center here at the health department. And not to like toot our own horn, we're actually really bad at that. And that's probably why you don't know about us. It's a growth area for us.
That's probably the reason why I'm asking too.
Yeah.
So toot your horn. I think it's awesome that the city of Gloucester is leading this. And I didn't know it, but I hope all of us now realize that the city of Gloucester in your office is leading the regional coalition on this fight. So thank you. I have no questions about accepting the grant or the work that you do. I think that this is a very easy thing for us to vote for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilor Gross, did you have anything?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll proceed to read the
Thank you,
motion. Budget and Finance Committee recommends to the City Council that we accept under Mass General Law 4453A a private grant from the Beth Israel Lahey Health Beverly and Addison Gilbert Hospitals for the fiscal year 22 Community Collaborative Grant in the amount of $16,200 for the purpose of developing a new online survey instrument to assess and to gather more detailed information on priority risks and health behaviors and experiences of Gloucester and Rockport school students ages grades 6 through 12. The grant period is from March 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2022, and there is no local match for the grant, and I so move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? Roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Jessica, we wish you well and carry on this very important work in the community.
Thank you so much for your support. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Just a shout out to that whole team. They do incredible work. And I think a lot of people in the city are not aware of the extent of it. And that's something in the next year we're really going to try and put a spotlight on. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Jess.
Bye.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Jess.
And I guess that winds up the agenda for tonight, right, Kenny? There's nothing else on the agenda, right?
That's it. Motion to
Not quite.
adjourn.
Okay, I guess there's one more item here.
I think there's two more items.
Okay, well, if you want to burden us with two, you can as well. The one I have on my agenda here is the election of the city auditor pursuant to our Gloucester City Charter, Section 2-7A. And the Budget and Finance Committee is being asked to recommend City Council pursuant to City Charter, Section 2-7A, concerning the election of city auditor to elect Kenny Costa as the city auditor for a term of April 2022 through April 2024. Discussion. Kenny, would like to speak to this.
Yes.
You've been with us a while.
I speak in favor. Thank you. Good evening, counselors, to the chair. Just to give you my brief overview of my municipal audit experience. I have approximately almost 23 years of experience municipal audit. The last 12 years with the city. Previous to that, with the city of Somerville as the assistant auditor. And previous to that, I worked with two outside audit firms that we dealt with municipal audits, end of year reports. So that's my overall experience. To go over my goals from the last review from 2 years ago, at the time I was looking to look at the audit contract, looking for another 3-year contract. And we were successful with that. We retained Rosellian Clark and Associates. They've done a great job with the audit and with the report. I mean, this is something that, it's a niche. We've noticed, we've seen that locally, we'd love to go with the local company, but this is something that there's only about a handful of audit firms out there that do this type of work, municipal audits. So we were able to secure a 3-year contract for the fiscal year 21, 22, 23 audit for $76,000 a year. Just to give you a perspective, back in 2014, we were reaching close to $100,000 a year in the audit. And that at that time, I think I just felt that the audit expense was, it was just getting too high. And I thought at the time it was a good idea to look to see what else other companies are out there, especially where I was an outside auditor, so I know the landscape. I know the players out there. So at the time we did an RFQ, and we were able to get a favorable price for the city. So right there, we were able to save $23,000 at that time. So I feel very comfortable with that decision. I'm glad that we made that decision. Another goal was the close of the books back in fiscal year 20 with the free cash certification. So the last 2 years, we've had 3.4 million and then the recent 5.5. And that's a record for the city. I mean, I went back and I looked in the 80s, I couldn't find anything higher than that. So I think that's a credit, to the city. It's a great financial indicator, and that's a team effort. I mean, it's all city departments, including, the mayor's office, the CFO, both on the city and the school. So, and the city council and this budget and finance committee. So it's a credit to the team. Another goal was provide support to the budget and finance for the fiscal year 21 budget. So I felt like I did that for 21 and and also fiscal year 22. And now for my goals for fiscal year 22 is provide, BNF support for the budget for 23. So any questions you may have or any information that you're looking for, I can assist you, I can guide you, I can help you. Another goal for this year that I have is the annual comprehensive financial report. That's our annual audit report. And so the last 4 years, I mean, this is only about 30 communities in Massachusetts that participate in this program. It's through the GFOA. It's a national award. It's the Government Finance Officers Association. This is something that we partake in. It's a great thing for the city. The rating agencies, they find it to be very favorable for S&P and Moody's. So it's a great thing for the city. So we were able to do all of that with the new audit contract. With the previous audit contract that we were paying almost $100,000, that was not included. That would have been extra. That would have been an extra $10,000. So that's why I'm really happy with the, the audit team that we have, the outside audit team and the current contract. I feel like it's bringing a lot of value to the city, Another item I have is the OPEB contract. We do need to go out and do an RFP because we do need a new report for next year, for next year's or fiscal year 22's audit. Also, I want to continue the partnership with the school with the end of year report and student activities. I feel our office and the school department, we have a great partnership working together. So we want to continue that. Also, another goal is hire a general ledger accountant in my office. We do have, a need for that. And thank you, Councilor Memhard, for helping us and guiding us and assisting us through the interview process. So we're looking hopefully to make that hire soon. And another goal I have is at some point I'd like to attend another Munis conference. That's our system that we currently use. I attended a couple of years ago. I went to the one in Boston. And I found, a lot of information, and it was just good, to meet other finance directors, other auditors in other communities, and then also see all the new stuff that's coming out in Munis. So I'd like to attend another conference in the future. I found that to be valuable. And that's all I have. And thank you for the continued support.
Counselor, thank you very much, Kenny. And I'm enjoying being a part of your interview process for the general ledger accountant. It's fascinating to see you at work and explaining what goes on in your office to a potential new candidate to work with you. And it's very, very clear that you enjoy what you do and you enjoy training and coaching the people that work with you. So that's wonderful to see. Councillor Gross, Councillor Worthley, questions or comments for our auditor? Please.
I defer to Tony if you want to go first.
No, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so first, thank you for sharing that. So I didn't even know I was going to be on Budget and Finance Committee till very late in the inauguration process. So I came at this with not a lot of current background, and you've been exceptionally helpful in getting me up to speed, and I'm thankful. I have a long ways to go, but I completely trust your judgment and completely trust your ability to get information quickly. I'm impressed by it, I'm sorry. And so I'm very grateful to have you. And this is not you didn't need to say anything in terms of testifying why you should keep this job, because it was very clear to me from day one that we have the right person. So thank you for that, Kenny.
Thank
I
you.
wonder if you could share your list of goals, if you have that in writing already, because I was making mental notes. I'm not sure if Sherry got all those into the minutes, but they're audacious goals, but they're good ones. And just if we're talking about accounting, keeping yourself accountable to your own goals, I think it'd be fantastic to share those, and we can use that as a benchmark for next year and the following year. If you don't mind sharing that, to the council or to us individually, if you have it already. My only question is, there something, aside from me asking random questions at random times, is there something that we can do to be helpful to your office that you haven't already asked us?
I feel that the BNF and the city council, you've always been supportive to me. I would just ask to continue that, to not stop.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you don't mind the random questions at random times then, right?
No, I welcome it. I don't mind. I like to, as Councilor Memhard mentioned, I like to teach. I like to have healthy discussions about, finance. I'm okay with it.
Thank you. That was just kind of a joke. Thank you, though. I will continue to ask lots of questions. I like to learn. So thank you for being a good teacher. I have no more questions. I defer to Councilor Gross.
Thank you. Kenny, I've worked with you for at least a decade, if not longer. You've been a great resource to me particularly on the Waterways Board, where we had a lot of work to do. And then, working in concert with the schools when I was chair of BNF over there. And because the two budgets are, both pretty similar and need the attention, and you're the auditor for everything. So everything went to you. I signed off on the papers before they went to you on Fridays. And but I've always found you to be very professional, very knowledgeable. I also found that you're particularly by the book, which I welcome, but that doesn't mean you can't get stuff done. If you're presented a problem, you try to figure out a way to make it work and be all above board. And that's quite a good talent to have and a good resource for us, because that allows us to move forward knowledgeably and without getting in trouble. One thing I would like to know is, are we recommending out of this to full council tonight? And it's probably, you haven't had a review in a couple of years. We probably should, Scott, you should probably initiate a review. And I don't know if that involves Jeff and I to give you stuff back, filling out our forms, and then and how that process would work. So those are a couple of questions I have for you, Scott.
Okay, I'll follow up on those. I see Councilor O'Hara has his hand up. Jamie?
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing me. I just want to make note that Kenny is a consummate professional. We are extremely lucky to have him on our team as the city council and obviously with the city. Thank you, Kenny, for your service to our city and to the city council.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
So is there action we need to take tonight on this, or?
Yes, we're going to be I believe we plan to vote on a recommendation to reappoint Kenny as the auditor for another 2-year term. And that would go to the council next week. And I will talk to Human Resources and update myself on the proper process for the review so that we can work together to undertake that.
Great.
So I'll go ahead and make the motion to move that the Budget and Finance Committee recommend to the City Council pursuant to City Charter Section 2-7A concerning the election of City Auditor to elect Kenny Costa as the City Auditor for a term of April 2022 through April 2024, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Councilor Gross.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
Yes, gladly.
Councilor Memhard. Absolutely yes. So we'll have this discussion again before the full council, and thank you all for your contribution.
Thank you.
The last item on the agenda was the bad boy list. What do we call it now?
Bad boy, naughty list.
Naughty list.
I've heard it all. So we have 25 accounts this time around. We had 20 last time. So there's a net increase of 5. I'll just go over briefly the new accounts. So there's one in the police department for holidays of $932.70. Typically, they'll transfer money from their salaries account over to their for holidays or any type of shortages like that. And then there's also the interest on long-term debt under the water. That's new this time. And then also overtime at the rink, $195.40. Hopeful that means that there's activity going on at the rink, because that's welcome. And the other new items are related to the school. The school showed up this time on the list. Looks like there's some salaries in SPED at the high school, Beaman, athletics, transportation. We've communicated this to Gary and to Cody, and they'd assure that they will cover these deficits next time. It's a little bit over $30,000 between those accounts, but overall they're in good standing. So there's really no concern, with the school. And that's all I have, unless the committee has any questions.
Where do we stand currently, Kenny, on the snow and ice account in terms of any outstanding overage or underage?
So currently, right now, I'll pull up the report. Currently, right now, we're at $1 million right now. So at this point, hopefully, we're done, but, as you know, we're still in March. So there could be, and I know this week we had a vendor warrant and there was still plowers on there, still we're paying bills from February. So there tends to be a month, month and a half lag at times. And actually there's already invoices already to be paid for the next warrant in April. So DPW, I mean, as they get them, they bring it over, to us. I mean, at times, even when the snow season's over, we'll still see invoices after that. So hopefully we're done, but I'm not sure we're out of the woods yet. But yeah, that's something that we'll have to, tend to, and as John knows, by June 45th or, July 15th, we'll have to cover that, that deficit, and we always do.
Let me ask a follow-up question, Councilmember Hurd.
Please.
So you said on the snow and ice, to answer Councilor Memhard's question, you said we're already at $1 million. Without the budget in front of me, I can't put that into context. So
$1.4 million.
$1.4 million is the total.
No,
number.
so if we can take a step back, so we budget $766,600 for fiscal year 22. So the spending limit was increased to 1.4, and then it was increased to 2 million. So all that is just spending authorization. That's not an actual budget transfer. So that's just authority to spend up to $2 million. We've spent up to 1.7 at this point. We also do have encumbrances of 126,000. So we're about $1 million at this point overspent. So I'm talking about budget to actual when I say $1 million. So, as of right now, but there's still invoices trickling in. Like I know there's invoices for the next warrant, and I'm sure we'll probably see that for next couple of warrants, even if we don't have any additional snow events going forward. I still think there'll still be additional invoices.
So, and I know you're required to give us this list, and there's really not a lot for us to do, just maybe paying attention to some trends. The only question I have at this point is, we're $1.4 million in the, overdrawn overall. How does that compare to other years?
I would say, like, for example, like 2015, I would say we're in better shape, or we're about to, go there. I mean, I think if you took snow and ice out of the equation out of here, I would say it would be a typical year. I would say we're pretty much where we were a year ago. If you took snow and ice, I would say with snow and ice, I would say we're probably, we're higher this year than last year, but it's because of snow and ice. It's something that, we typically see each year. I think overall, I think we're in good shape. But again, snow and ice, it's the big elephant in the room. I think John also wants to add something.
Yeah, just quickly. So we spent $1.8 million to date. Last year it was $840. Year before that it was $626. Wonderful thing. Year before that was $1.4 million, $1.5 million, $1 million, and then going back to what Kenny's mentioned, the bonus, the jackpot, the year of all years, the Shackometer, if you remember that. 2015 was $3.5 million. So that just gives you a perspective on total snow and ice spending over the past 7 years.
And we don't want 3.5, right, John?
We do not want to do that again.
No, we don't want to go 3.5. And at that point, we needed help from the state, or the state provided relief by amortizing that 3.5 over 3 years. That's what we talked about in the past. But that was a one-time thing. Like as of right now, I don't see that happening. And also in that 2015, we also did receive $300,000 of FEMA assistance as well. And FEMA assistance doesn't come usually in the same fiscal year, sometimes in the next year or 2 years after. It's a lengthy process.
Councilor Gross.
Yeah, I don't know, John, if you or Kenny can answer, did we have to adjust for inflation this year on both materials and contract labor? Did those go up significantly
have-
like everything else?
We have pretty much budgeted the same amount every year. So budgeting for snow and ice is a bit tricky. So we want to be careful. I mean, in the end, Counselor, what you spend is what you're going to spend.
No, what I was wondering is, did our costs go up this year? If
Yeah.
The rate of fuel. and the
yard of
hourly
salt
rate for labor.
cost, $50, did it cost $75 this year? Or the contractors cost $85 last year, were they 95 this year? Do you guys,
So-
either of you know that?
I'm not sure about the
Okay.
cost of salt, but certainly the cost of contractors did go up fairly substantially. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was throughout the state, not just here.
So this isn't necessarily more snow. It could be just
It's-
higher removal cost.
It's the cost of delivery. It's the cost of people with trucks, and it's just a general extremely tight labor market.
And Kenny, this $1 million, we've already spent the 766,600, right? That's not figured into this.
Yeah, that's 766. That's, that was a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
That 766 went quick.
So yeah, again, expenditures to date are about $1.8 million. So yeah, we spent $1 million over the 766.
Right.
And we have spending authority up to 2 million. So if unfortunately this continues, we'll have to increase that spending authority. But just by increasing that spending authority doesn't mean that because you have to appropriate, or there needs to be a transfer, or there needs to be a supplemental appropriation. So there needs to be an action of the council to cover that. So just by creating a spending authority, that's just a legal requirement, but there needs to be an actual appropriation in front of you in order to cover that deficit.
Right. Thanks.
Council Worthley?
Yes. So I don't know if ever in any point in time we've had a surplus in the snow and ice where we were transferring money out in June to cover other costs. Probably not. And I know it's the one account we are allowed to not level fund, and you can overspend in it legally. Is there something that this body can do now or should do now to sort of say, hey, if we've got money, put it in the account that we're always spending way more than we budgeted for. In other words, I'm sure that's going to come up at the budget time. But if every year it's $1.2 million, $1.3 million, $1.4 million, and we're putting in 777, why don't we put in $1.2 million? And then if it's a dry, sunny winter, then we have money left over to transfer out. It's a philosophical question, and I don't know if we need to send a message if we even want to do that. I haven't even talked to the committee, but
Can I try to answer that?
please.
Because we'll have to reduce another line item by that amount.
Right. But
So
essentially, we will be,
that's why it's about balancing the budget.
right, but essentially we're having to do that before the year's over. as
Right.
Well, so it's more of a on paper kind of question in June. But I just wanted to beg the question, if every year, I think, John, you were listing, consecutive years of, my audio cut off said 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Why do we even put in 777? And I get what you're saying, Councilor Gross.
Well, there was 2 years that was below the 766 in that. You must have missed that.
Mike, it did cut out for a second on the audio. So
Yeah.
I probably did.
There was 2 years that were below it.
So yes, and basically, snow and ice is one thing that you kind of establish as a baseline, and you really kind of can't reduce it in future budgets. So again, as I said, your snow and ice costs are going to be what they are, whether you budget $1 or you budget 2 million and a dollar. They are going to be what they are. Except for that extraordinary year in 2015, we have covered snow and ice deficits each year since then. So we feel, as we do this year, or as I do this year, that we will have enough available within the general fund to move around within Kenny's, as he says, June 45th timeframe, as we do every year, to just balance out any account that may be in deficit. And we've done that consistently for the past, again, except for snow and ice in 2015, we've done that consistently for the past 8 years.
So the answer to the question I'm hearing from John and Kenny and from prior discussion is that, Jeff, that there doesn't appear to be a benefit to budgeting a larger amount as the baseline in our regular approved budget. There's no benefit to that. Kenny?
I just wanted to add, so in 2020, that was one year that we budgeted 766,600. And that year was a mild winter. We expended 626,310. So we had 140,000 left over. Now we're restricted. We cannot, so at the end of the year, we can't take that 140,000 and transfer that to something else. There's only Boston and the state can do that. We cannot do that. So that's, as an example, that's one year. And I think it's only happened twice, I can tell you, in the last decade that's happened. And unfortunately, I know at times we want to transfer it, but we can't. We can't transfer. And that's something that I report to DOR annually. So I don't want any issues with them saying, well, why did you decrease it? Because that's going to be a problem. That's going to be an issue. There's a separate, just so you know, there's a separate reporting model just for snow and ice. It's something that DOR does watch closely because they do want to make sure that we're reporting appropriately, and also we're covering that deficit annually. It's something that they do watch. So I want you to know that it's not something that's hidden. It's something that they do watch.
Thank you. So what you're saying, if there's a surplus, we can't use that money?
Correct. So that 140,000, that will just fall to the bottom line. We can't use that for anything. It's stuck.
It's stuck.
there.
Yes. Good description, Kenny. Yeah, it's stuck.
I'm trying to keep it simple.
We should use the word frozen because we're using snow and ice. Might as well stick.
It's frozen. There you
It's
go.
frozen.
I like that better.
But that falls to free cash the following year?
It falls to the bottom line.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I can't say, well, yes, it will be part of the free cash calculation, but I can't say that's going to be free cash because in the past, because you can have positive free cash and negative free cash. So it doesn't mean that you're going to have free cash. Obviously, we don't want negative free cash, but it's part of the falls to the bottom line. It's part of the calculation of free cash.
I'm just drawing off of some experience many years ago. The mayor at the time put $0 in the snow and ice account. It was in fiscal year 2004. And it was, Councilor Gross, your point, to balance the budget in June. And hopefully we'll figure it out later. And it was a bad winter and it was horrible to just deal with that. And I'm glad that we're not doing that any longer. So anyway, I don't have any questions, any more questions. Appreciate your time.
Any other business for us tonight? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to acknowledge Mary Ann Albert Boucher, who appears to have stayed with us for the evening. I hope she was able to mind some grandchildren or do some kitchen cooking while she was listening in and watching us. But thank you for your oversight, Mary Ann. And we've had a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded. Roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard. Motion to adjourn has been passed unanimously. I'd like to thank all of you, and as well as Councilor O'Hara and Councilor O'Neill for staying with us through this evening.
And Sherry as well. Thank you, Sherry.
Yep.
Well,
Good night, everybody.
Sherry's
Good night.
stuck with us which way.
Right. Good point. Good night.
Night.
Thank you,
All
Sherry.
right.
Kenny,
Thank you.
good night.
Good night.